7-Foot Man. Author's note: this pasta is based on the true story of Dave, last name unknown, who was interviewed by the Ghost Adventures crew during their investigation of Letchworth Village. A video of the interview can be seen here. I don't exactly remember why I kept going back there. Letchworth Village. I don't know if it was the thrill of being someplace rumored to be haunted, or maybe something was taking me back. Either way, what I saw couldn't be erased from my memory, so it doesn't matter. It was around early 2009. The old brick building with vines growing off the side was just 30 feet away from me. I climbed out of the bush I was hiding in and got closer. There might have been maybe 4 of us there, including me. We went back maybe 3 nights a week. When we weren't there, it's all we ever thought about. I wasn't exactly looking for anything, but, as I said before, I don't exactly know why we kept going back. Ignoring the "No trespassing" sign, I saw an open door. I don't think we ever break in. We only enter where a door or window is open. Nonetheless, I walked inside. It smelled of illness, sadness, and death. I clicked on my flashlight and pointed it at the wall. As expected, the cracked tile of the wall and floor reflected the light coming from the flashlight. My friends followed suit. Usually, we split up. Except, this time was a bit different. I wandered off on my own. I don't usually do this, unless I want to go find something or do something on my own. But I felt that I should be alone this time. This place was like a maze. Eventually, I realized that I was alone. I called out to my friends, but they didn't hear me. I kept walking. Using the flashlight as my only light source, I made it to a darkened hallway. I didn't recognize it. I clicked off the flashlight and started walking. Something made a noise behind me, and I turned around. All I saw was a window, covered up by the trees that surrounded the building. As I was walking down the hallway, my flashlight still off, I thought I heard things behind me. I didn't look what was there. Although, I wish I did. After about 15 seconds, I heard someone call my name. Dave. I started running down the hall. I clicked on my flashlight and saw my friend. I'll call him Matt. Matt looked really scared. He said, "Didn't you see what was behind you?" I immediately turned around, but saw nothing. "No, what was there?" I replied. I don't exactly remember what Matt said, but what I remember is that whatever was walking behind me was about 7 feet tall, had no arms, bent back legs, and piercing white eyes. Since it was completely dark, and the only real light was coming from the window at the opposite end of the hall, we never actually knew what it looked like. It could have had a face or clothes. What I find to be the weirdest part of this story is what happened when I was driving home. I had been driving for about 10 minutes, listening to the radio. It was almost 2 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, the radio cut out. When it did, I heard a deep voice. I don't know if this was the 7-Foot Man or something else haunting the building. The voice I heard was so low quality, I couldn't hear what it said. The radio came back on afterwards. The 7-Foot Man still remains a mystery. I never went back there. My friends did. They never saw it, or any signs of it. But, every time they come home, their radio cuts out, and the deep voice comes back. Nobody knows what it wants. Sometimes I see it out my window, but as soon as I focus, it's gone. Maybe one day I'll know what it is. But for now, it's only a mystery. 2 degrees. Time travel, thought to be a physical impossibility, was finally figured out in our year 2180. To simplify the impossibility of it, to travel through time you would have to travel faster than the speed of light, which a scientist here by the name of Albert Einstein has proven to be impossible, at least by means of propulsion. The only way we found possible to travel through time was by the use of cosmic forces that already had the gravity and power to bend light, for example a black hole. A black hole is a place in space where gravity is so strong that not even light can escape it, to the point that they are actually invisible to your eyes because there is no light to see it. We'd messed around with a few different methods and found two that worked. The first was the use of a Tipler cylinder, which, simplified beyond simplification, is a cylinder of incredibly dense mass, kind of a black hole in the shape of Pringles can, that if it spins fast enough can grant you time travel. Well, if you enter the Pringles can directly, you'll eventually be pulled towards the center, which is where the gravity is greatest, so great in fact that no means of propulsion will be strong enough to get you out, and you'll be stuck there forever. Instead, you fly at the cylinder at an angle, and if done correctly you should spin around the cylinder, and when you approach the middle of it, because of the incredible gravity and the angle you're traveling, it will have a sort of slingshot effect, and as it propels you to the other end you will have traveled in time relative to how fast you were traveling, how fast the cylinder was spinning, and what angle you took. As you can probably tell, even simplified, that the process is pretty convoluted and extremely dangerous, even if the math is supposedly done right, which is why we don't use it. Our second method turned out to be a lot easier to use, but it is also very temperamental. These are called wormholes, which simplified is a point in spacetime that connects to another point in spacetime, and in between these points in a sort of hollow cylinder, which instead of traveling around at an angle, you travel through. Now normally these aren't traversable, but with the artificial induction of a material you call exotic matter, you can stabilize these corridors and travel through them without them collapsing. Naturally, these require much less calculation, making them easier to travel through. However, there is a catch. A wormhole can only be used to travel through time to specific place/time, which is wherever the wormhole existed to begin with. So for example, you want to travel back to the year 1700 using a wormhole, that would require the wormhole to have existed in the year 1700 for you to use it. Luckily for us, we found one such wormhole, and pretty remarkably close to our planet too. We call this type of wormhole a primordial wormhole, which just means that it's been around since close to the beginning of the universe, but it was extremely small. When we discovered it, however, because of the expansion of the universe up to this point, it was stretched to a point where we could observe it. This is what sparked the race for time travel, and every superpower we had were all racing to see who would achieve it first. 13 years after its discovery, the lab that I was working in finally figured out how much exotic matter it would take to stabilize it and send a ship through safely. We were ecstatic, but with our current technology we would only be able to send a ship with room for one through it, and with our competitors working furiously to get the same number we had recently discovered, we had to choose fast. There were 28 of us qualified. We had never tried anything like this before. Hard to determine what qualified someone when you hadn't done the experiment before, to take the ship and go, so we drew names out of a container. What everyone else had failed to notice is that I replaced half of those slips with my name during the celebration, so my chances of getting chosen were pretty damn high. Naturally, I got the vote, so we got preparations finished as fast as we could, and 2 days later I was ready to head out. With final goodbyes to my team and what little family I had, I shot through the great beyond. The trip through that space is tied for the worst experience of motion sickness I've ever had. Going through it at first was like flying through a stupidly large, menacing storm cloud. Lightning struck the ship and sent it spinning as I'm strapped into a chair praying to anything that'll listen to see me through this alive. As if to mock my prayers, I looked through the main monitor to see the nose of the ship stretch almost infinitely out in front of me as the wall started closing in, and for a second I swear I was two-dimensional. Then just as quickly as it happened, everything seemed to snap back to regular proportion and I left the wormhole, witnessing something stupefying. As it turns out, the wormhole was much older than we had anticipated, and as well as I've been able to estimate, maybe 30 minutes after the Big Bang and our universe started, I arrived. Light, brighter than any you've ever seen, streaked across the infinite darkness as clouds of cosmic dust flew around my ship, catching the glints of the light through different angles, so every time I looked they were a different color. I was dumbfounded, completely unable to move. I've never concentrated so hard on just seeing, for this was the birth of my universe, or so I thought. I don't know how long I sat there before I turned around, but I eventually knew I had to get back, to let everyone know what we found. As the ship made a 180 though, I saw only the infinite expanse space beyond me. The wormhole was gone. I can't tell you how long I stared, utterly devoid of feeling. I couldn't understand it. I had used it to get here, So why the hell wasn't it still here? I used every machine on my ship to try and find some trace of it, locate any anomaly that may have moved, and I didn't notice it, but all returned negative results. Then realization hit, and I understood that I was never going home. I floated there for hours, laughing hysterically as I pretty rapidly lost what little sanity I had left, and then I passed out. I awoke with an empty feeling, and while playing a fun game of how I would kill myself, another thought occurred to me. On the ship was a cryogenic stasis pod, used normally for travel across long expanses of space, but would hopefully keep me alive long enough. I set the ship to conserve as much energy as possible while keeping me in stasis and searching for an anomaly that might be able to bring me back. I entered the pod, and despite being of little faith, prayed for the second time in my life. I don't know how long I was frozen, but I awoke when my ship detected a tippler cylinder with the right rotation and gravity to hopefully take me back to my own time. Maybe there was someone listening after all. I spent hours upon hours making sure I did the calculation right. I was only going to get one shot at this, and if I fucked it up I'd be trapped and crushed under the enormous pressure instantaneously. I put in the coordinates and speed specifications, told the dead space that I love my family, and initiated the other worst motion sickness incident I've ever had. As it turns out, our ships were definitely not made tippler time travel. As I approached the middle of the cylinder, my ship seemed to stretch out again. This time instead of stretching forward, however, I got to experience the feeling of being stretched and curved, so much so that I surely thought I would tear at the seams. Just moments after passing the exact center, however, like an overstretched spring, everything snapped together. When I finished getting accustomed to the third dimension again, I realized that most of my ship's sensors and engines were shot. Assuming my calculations were wrong, when I returned to normal space, certain particles that made up my ship were in different places, and when something tries to inhabit a space where something else already is, well, simply put, stuff breaks. None of this mattered to me anymore though, for right in front of me was my planet, and she had never looked more beautiful. I used what little power my ship still had to get closer and try and determine a landing point when I noticed something off. I scanned the galaxy to find that it wasn't the fourth celestial body from our sun, but the third. I ran another scan of the surface of planet and found it inhabited by a completely different species than my own. These beings were crude, they used strange rolling devices to move across the surface. They all look generally the same, but come in different colors and sizes. They use two limbs to traverse the ground but two different ones to handle everything else. They are grotesque and use guttural sounds to communicate. In fact, they call my planet Earth. You see, a wormhole can only be used if it was in the time/place where it originated, and mine originated in my universe, and this wasn't mine anymore. Just by being there during its creation I had altered it, and the specks of cosmic dust that hit my ship, that would be my home, had their trajectory altered. What a difference 2 degrees makes. Amor Eterno /ES. Has tratado por todos los medios de encontrar el amor de tu vida, alguien que te complete, alguien que siempre esté allí contigo, alguien que te escuche, que se preocupe por ti, bueno yo sé cómo hacerlo, no es a través de ninguna red social como vosotros pensaríais. Lo primero que debes hacer es ir al bosque más cercano a tu hogar, en una noche sin luna, tan solo armado con un cuchillo, unas velas negras, un papel y una pluma. Debes llegar al claro de ese bosque y poner todo lo que has traído sobre el tocón de un árbol cortado, no te preocupes, eso aparecerá misteriosamente en el bosque donde vías. Después de haber preparado todo, prend las velas a la hora señalada, la medianoche, y mantenedero de lado, en ningún momento te muevas de esa posición, por más que las piernas se te cansen y se te acalambren, aunque empiezas a ver y escuchar cosas, por mucho miedo que sientas, no te muevas de tu posición, porque de lo contrario, ese lugar será lo último que veas. Tras unos minutos de en voz alta tu nombre y que vienes a buscar, el amor verdadero, incondicional y eterno. Si el bosque y los dioses están de tu lado, continúa con el rito, sino y lo más rápido que puedas de ahí, por el mismo camino por el que viniste y bajo ningún concepto te de la vuelta. Como decía, continúa con el rito diciendo también, en voz alta, esta noche, Firmo mi amor incondicional con mi amada, para toda la eternidad, y con el cuchillo cortate en la mano izquierda y con la pluma toma algo de tu sangre y escribe tu nombre sobre el papel, luego quema esta carta en una de las dos velas. Después de esto verás que, de entre la oscuridad del bosque saldrá una hermosa mujer, con tan solo una larga túnica blanca, de la cual te enamorarás profundamente al instante, esta te pedirá que la ayudes, lo cual harás por el resto de la eternidad, pero cuidado, que se la enganas con otra o dejas de quererla, bueno, no es bueno pelearse con un demonio, ¿verdad? English translation: Have you tried all the means of finding the love of your life, someone that completes you, someone that is always there with you, someone who will listen, who cares for you? Well, I know how to do it, and it's not through any social network like you may think. First thing you have to do is go to the woods closest to your home, on a moonless night, equipped only with a knife, black candles, paper and a pen. Get to a clearing in the forest and put everything you have brought upon the stump of a cut tree. Do not worry, for one shall appear mysteriously in whichever forest you go. After having prepared everything, light the candles at the appointed hour, midnight, and stay on your knees. Under no circumstance should you move from that position, even as your legs get tired and you get cramps. Even if you begin to see and hear things and feel fear, do not leave your position, because otherwise this place will be the last thing you see alive. After a few minutes, say your name out loud and that you come to find true love, unconditional and eternal. If the forest and the gods are on your side, continue with the right. If not, run away as fast as you can from there, the same way you came, and never look back. As I was saying, if you continue with the right, say out loud, "Tonight, I sign my unconditional love with my love for all eternity," and with the knife cut your left hand, and with the pen take some of your blood and write your name on the paper, then burn this letter in one of the two candles. After this, you'll see that out of the darkness of the forest will come a beautiful woman with only a long white robe, with which you shall fall deeply in love with her instantly. She will ask you to help her, which you shall do for the rest of eternity, but beware that if you cheat on her or cease loving her, well, it's not nice to break up with a demon, right? Absorption of the speaker. In the many rituals of this website, there is a common theme: either if the being does not do this thing, you will suffer mutilation/torture/death, or once you're on, there is no turning back type. I'll be pleased to say in this ritual, these themes don't happen. Now, why you would want to do this ritual in the first place I honestly don't know, but pay attention, and you can get away scot-free even if you mess up. What you are trying to summon is a being which I'll call the speaker. He isn't a ghostie from a graveyard or the devil or anything. You must have this in the ritual. He's the keeper of knowledge, and he has all the answers to every single one of your questions. All the information in the universe is stored inside a special place not located on Earth. The speaker will give you the information you need if you play your cards right. But play it wrong, we'll discuss over all the bad shit later to come. You see, he hates being summoned over and over again, and if your defenses aren't strong enough, he might just overwhelm you. First things first, you need to set around 20 cups in a circle. Any kind of cup will do. If the circle isn't large enough to let a person stand in it, use more cups. Make sure there is no more than 1 inch between each adjacent cup, or the speaker will slip through. To be safe, let the cups touch each other at the rims. Cut up a sheet of paper into slips. Make as many slips as you have cups, and try to make them equal-sized. On each slip, write the speaker, no quote marks, in clear handwriting. When you're done, put 1 slip into each cup. If you have extras, discard them. Scatter some wet dirt into the circle. Do not let a single speck of dirt land in the cups or outside the circle. The speaker will appear out of any nearby dirt, and if he appears in your cups, you'll be screwed if you don't have your defender, because this breaks the circular protection. If you really want a strong protection, spread salt around the cups. In as many cups as you can, put a candle in it. The candle isn't really for fending off the speaker, it has another, useful reason. You don't need every cup to have a candle. Once you're done setting up the protections, start making your defender. In this ritual, the defender is one handheld tool used to ward off the speaker should he ever penetrate your defenses. It's powerful enough to banish the speaker back to his own dwelling. This is used as a last resort, and probably the best. A defender is made out of a personal object, a relic used to ward off evil, a crucifix, a Star of David, etc. It should also be a religion you believe in, so if you're atheist, too bad, and some red string tying them together. Make sure they are bound securely. Together they can hold off the speaker forever, individually they cannot. After you're done, put it in a pocket, out of sight. You now must give an offering. Holding all the knowledge in the universe is a tiring job, and the speaker needs energy. Most people prepare a calorie-filled foodstuff for him, that probably is the easiest. Drop your fried chicken/hamburger/jar of cashews onto the dirt and close your eyes. Count to 5, and then think of the speaker as hard as you can. Open your eyes. In front of you, rising from the dirt, will be the speaker. You might have noticed any lights around you have dimmed somewhat, but you're probably gazing in awe at the speaker. He'll look like an average guy dilly-dallying around, but the transparent, massive wings that sprout from his back say otherwise. He also has these incredibly dark eyes, like the never-ending passage of a tunnel, or a deep, shadowy well. The irises will have dilated so large as to leave almost no whites in the eyes. You'll probably be creeped out by then. If you feel that you cannot stand this apparition, quickly abort the ritual. Say, "I do not desire your presence here," or something like that, and he'll vanish. You can also pull out your defender, and he'll be gone before you can blink. If you can stand him, say, "I have a few questions of mine to ask." He will reply, "Ask them away, but I require a price." Don't fret over that warning too much. Ask your first question. Try asking something simple, like, "How many fingers does a human have?" Easy questions like these don't aggravate the speaker. He'll be tolerant and cheerful enough to play alone. Angering the speaker early in the ritual isn't a good idea. As the ritual progresses, you can ask him harder questions. The speaker isn't going to answer each of your questions honestly, he doesn't have to. That's why the candles are handy. If he lies to one of your questions, the candles automatically light up, without any match or lighter. You can't force him to give you a truthful response, but he usually does after being caught lying. So far the game seems easy, As long as you don't knock over any cups, you should be safe, yes? Wrong. Besides the power of knowing all the answers to your questions, he can also manipulate you with his voice. He's weak and exhausted, and you're right there, brimming with so much energy. He wants that energy. At some point in the ritual he can't control his own hunger anymore, and he'll try to make you get rid of the protections. His voice will be charming, smooth, he'll try to possess you with his lovely tones. If you're female, watch out. He'll try to bribe you, persuade you, and even threaten you. He can if you don't touch the protection wards. Do not listen to him. Cover your ears if you have to. If you can't bear it, banish him by holding out the defender. He'll let out a scream, all hunger forgotten, and disappear. If you do fall prey to his voice, almost all hope is lost for you. If you're not fast enough, the speaker will fall upon you, and draw the energy out of you. It will be painful, the sensation of life being sucked out of you, fading into unconsciousness, and eventually death. If that's what you want, go ahead. If you are quick enough, whipping out the defender in time, he'll vanish. Congrats, you just saved yourself from an agonizing death. Pat yourself on the back from so close a call. There is one way even your defender won't protect yourself from him. If you invite him outside the circle, it doesn't matter what protections you have, what holy idols you hold. Your word is a command, and you're the master of the ritual. The speaker will unhesitantly step outside the circle and proceed to take your life from you. In both of these cases, at least your family/the neighbors/the police will find an unmarred body. Your physical body hasn't been touched, the speaker isn't a rapist, you'll just look like you keeled over and dropped dead. They'll clean up the mess you made, throw away some stuff, and you'll just be another dead person. If you manage to survive the ritual, either banish him with the defender or, more politely, wave a hand and say, "I am ready to pay," or something similar. He'll ask for something from your house, a token to remember you. He won't remember you though, but if you give him an object you personally treasure or value, he might let you ask one more question, a question that he will answer as truthfully as he can. After he's done answering, he'll vanish, and you'll have to clean up the dirt and cups, etc. If you keep a bit of that dirt around with you, you might notice that you'll have more luck or knowledge than usual. You might be able to guess the multiple answer questions correctly, or ace that calculus course you were struggling with, or get hired for a job you normally had no chance of getting. You can summon the speaker as many times as you can. He won't remember you. He'll know you, but he won't care about you. After all, every day thousands of people want questions answered. He has a lot of requests to fulfill. You're now going to go summon the speaker, aren't you? It's pretty simple if you followed the rules above. You're going to set those cups in a circle, put pieces of paper and candles in them, yes? You're going to call up the speaker and ask some questions you want to know, make sure not to be bewitched by his voice, and then pay him something precious, right? You'll then walk away, unscarred, and probably forgot about the whole ordeal. And then you need answers again. And you'll be doing this ritual over and over again. You'll keep doing it to the point of excess, and one day you'll forget to connect the cup's rims in a circle, you'll accidentally knock over a cup, and you'll do what the speaker says and invite him outside. There are a lot of unseen dangers in this game, but if you have the wits and mind to ask right, the information's all yours. Be on your way. Unknown Narrator 2 written by Rising Fusion. Content is available under CC by SA. Azawakh. Lucy Arnault collapses on stage while singing her song, Hymns Aliment. The microphone tumbles over. She lays moribund on the platform, gasping for air. Her fans were shocked and raised on their feet, covering their mouths, in mercy. Volunteers helped to carry her out of the stage to her limousine, along with themselves. The crowd chased the vehicle to have one last look, but were held back by the guards. The driver drove a good couple of minutes on the road and they stopped at her studio. They proceed into her workplace, all struggled to carry her properly as if something is pulling her down. She makes one last wish, to record one last song. They, without hesitation, let her sing in the studio. The decision was made to record it. Azawakh, mon ange, mon ami, mon enfant, venez à moi. Her voice was so distorted and hoarse they could not bear to hear it. It was not the Lucy Arnault they had listened to before. Suddenly, she interrupted from singing, and one of them quickly checked her. Her nose bled profusely, blood streamed slowly down her lips. He probed her pulse and heartbeat, she was evidently dead, but kept singing Azawakh, mon ange, mon ami, mon enfant, venez à moi. He backs away from her. Her red eyes gazed at him, he stared at his reflection in her eyes. The lights started flickering and she rips her hair out of the scalp, deafening screams and crying reigned the entire place, the recording still goes through. Peculiar barks could be heard from the halls when her solidifying, soul-chilling hymn sang again, Azawakh, mon ange. They tried to run away out the studio, but the doors were oddly soldered. The barks were louder, and so was Lucy mon ami, mon enfant. The lights sparked and went out. The tremor shook the whole studio, knocking things off the shelves and falling over. Something, most probably an animal, banged the closed door, trying hard to get in. Venez à moi, Azawakh. Their ears instantly burst and rung as the door flew open, something was waiting for her at the door. Lucy runs out of the studio, trampling of the bodies of the dead men with clawed-out eyes. The whole building collapses, in response to the quake. Lucy did not make it, but she stuttered out the words of her last song. Azawakh, mon ange, mon ami, mon enfant, venez à moi. This has been a local legend in Lambesc, France in the 20th century, but did not last long and was completely forgotten. An earthquake in 1909 had hit Provence, France, 46 dead, 250 injured, 2,000 buildings damaged, the areas affected including Lambesc. It's reached number 6 on the Richter scale, the most massive and most destructive earthquake in metropolitan France. It was rumored that reconstruction was built on the studio, but no one had any idea which building it was. Reports of a strange stray dog were common. Descriptions match a sighthound dog breed from Africa, making it impossible for it to have reached France at that time. The dog, called an Azawakh, was a normal breed, but an important deity in a lesser-known Swahili cult, named Watoto wa Kifo, but this has nothing to do with the legend whatsoever, you might think, but you may be wrong. Lucy Arnaud's father, Mchumba Marjani, was a Waswahili. He was assumed to be part of the Watoto wa Kifo as a leader. He went on a vacation alone back to Swahili, but it was actually a sort of black pilgrimage. He had come back 2 weeks later and brought back something with him. It was suggested in the lyrics of her songs that it was a dog, most probably the described breed. After her father's return, she changed, in a weird manner. She vomited excessively and blacked out in the sight of her father. She was proven to be pregnant, but had no husband. She had decreased appetite, and when she did feel like eating, she would feed herself on raw meat. She became more aggressive and emotionally disturbed over the days. She stopped singing, and her fame was gone for a while. 63 days passed, and she had given birth to her baby. 63 days was too early for a human to give birth, but it was normal for a dog. A day after she gave birth, her mother was dead on the floor, eyes clawed out and bitten on the neck. Her father and the baby were gone, and the only thing left of the baby was a photo. Azawakh.